let's go back to credit cards. I'm gonna give you 5 ways that credit card companies really take advantage of people. The first is just very simple: interest rates. Credit card companies tend to have very high interest rates. So if you leave a balance and you pull it over month by month, and maybe because you're focused on having a good credit score, so you carry a balance. Well, a lot of people would argue that the benefit of a better credit score is heavily outweighed by the fact that you have so much interest and they're sucking money out of your bank account. So when people say, how much should I invest in the stock market before I pay down my credit cards? I would say actually, and Warren Buffett would say this too, that really you want to pay down your credit cards a lot before you even start investing, because in the stock market, you may make 2% one year, you may make 12%, you may make negative 10%. But if you pay off the credit card and the interest rate is 18%, you're guaranteed to make 18% because you're paying off the 18% that you would have to pay in interest by keeping that balance there. So be really thoughtful about carrying balances on credit cards because the high interest rates will kick your butt. Number two, hidden fees and charges. Credit card companies tend to have a lot of fees like late payment fees, over the limit fees, annual fees, stuff like that. So the fees are pretty much the way they sneak in there and really get you. Now they're trying to pass laws to limit the fees. I'd be curious to see what that looks like. I don't think they're going to be very successful because the banking lobby is very, very strong. And what's ironic is I think I saw where President Biden was working to limit bank fees to a certain price. And I really thought about it. I said, that's so interesting. I wonder how he's going to do that, given that he's one of the architects, actually, of many of these very high fees that exist. He's actually a lot. If you look up the history, you can go read up on this. But in the 1990s or so, Biden was he was from Delaware. He was a senator from Delaware. In Delaware, there are lots of companies that are incorporated there, lots of banks. So the banks were paying him money, basically because they said, look, we don't want to loan out this money on student loans and have people just declare bankruptcy and not pay us back. That's a financial risk to us. So effectively, what they did was he received a lot of support, and so he helped to pass a law that basically said, if you don't pay, if you go bankrupt, you cannot discharge your student loans. Now I want you to ask yourself, just logically, what person would what person would want this? What person has asked for what person has asked someone to, or ask the government to make a law that says they can't discharge their student loans? And so, that nobody asked for that, right? That this was asked for by the banks. So my thought was, I said, I wonder how he's gonna fight against the banks when he supported the banks and helped put certain laws and rules in place that are not to the benefit of the American people. Now I see here, Dr. Marilyn says, also, you can visit the student loan doctor to learn about getting your student loans forgiven. There are several programs to help you. Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing that. And I put that in that, and that's okay. But please be careful about soliciting and selling extensively in the chat, or pulling people into MLMs or anything that you might have going on, because I'd rather have people talk. I'd rather have us talk about the content and not get into stuff like that. If you want to work with us to promote something, we can talk about that. We have to be really careful about what gets promoted on the platform, because we had a debacle with the Tulsa Real Estate Fund where, because I had Jay on my platform, people thought that somehow we were endorsing that the fund, and the fund did not do well. So anyway, okay. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. But just let's make sure we draw that line. So keep your comments short and let's try not to get into anything that appears to possibly look like solicitation, because that's something our team doesn't really, that makes it a little bit harder on the platform. So just, all right. So anyway, let me move back here. So thank you for understanding that. All right. So let's see the next reason or next way credit card companies can drain wealth from people is they have a lot of these teaser rates and introductory offers. So a lot of credit card companies will give low interest rates in the beginning, or they'll say, no interest for a certain amount of time. And what a lot of folks don't look into so much is what happens after that time period is done. And so effectively, what they're good at is they know they're going to get their money at some point. And it doesn't mean that when they make money, it's always unethical. But effectively, if you aren't aware, again, this is financial awareness, right? Financial consciousness. If you're not financially conscious and aware of what that looks like on the back end, then it can come as a big surprise. That's where a lot of these payday lending companies end up just really harming poor people. It's not because payday lending is inherently a terrible thing. There are people that want to pass laws to get rid of payday lenders, and I don't know how I feel about that, because I say, well, if the people know what it is, if they know what they're doing, if they know, if they know what the deal is, who's to stop, an adult that says, hey, look, I know I'm going to pay an insane amount of interest, but I just need money right now. I don't think it's necessarily the government's job to tell someone they can't do that, but I do think that it's important for people to understand what they're getting into, right? So it's almost like a type of relationship. Like, should I judge you because you got married, or should I judge you because you had a one night stand? No, I shouldn't judge you at all because the only thing that matters to me is whether you understand what it is. So if you go into a one night stand and you think you're going to get married, and then you're hurt because marriage does not occur, well, then that's where education would have been more important. So awareness is really the goal here. It's not to tell you yes or no on certain things. So these teaser rates and introductory offers tend to take advantage of a lack of awareness because they package all the fees and everything into the fine print, and they know people don't read the fine print, and that becomes the issue. Now, let's see. Next one before I move on, someone's asking, how can we sponsor a podcast? We allow very limited sponsorship for certain. Just we just don't do a lot of that as much anymore, but there are some limited spots. So if you want to email support@theblackbusinessschool.com, they can help you. So that's support@theblackbusinessschool.com. In fact, they can help you with really anything. We just so you know, in case you want to know our journey, we just had to kind of really think carefully about certain things. Even at the All Black National Convention, we have far fewer vendor slots because there were people that were selling things where we're like, I don't know if we should be letting people sell this, because if something goes bad, it's going to end up affecting us.